This is the debriefing video for the meeting on the 12th of August, 2024 at 6 p.m. Fairly normal opening to the meeting. We did have one thing added in here, which was the White Lake Community Library report. Virginia come in and gave information on that, and a few things in the packet, and I did full audit in the reference packet as well. So good update. And I think maybe a lot of people, or some people in certain parts of the township might be confused of how much that covers, but up in the corner around near the Village of Lakewood Club is Whitehall School Districts, and that area has more involvement up in that region, including the White Lake Library, but they have a deal with Mattle, the Muskegon Area District Library, so anyone that has a card there can also use that library as well. And so it's they're larger numbers than you might think. Of people from Dalton Township that use that library. Next, we had our first public comment. No one commented there. And then we're on to our decision items. First decision item being the zoning change on Whitehall Road. A few different pieces from residential to commercial. One of them had previously been commercial, and one of them is at least used that way already. That one passed. Next, we had the site plan on Hine Road. This is for all the commercial buildings going in there along Whitehall Road in the business park. Not all of the spots in the business park, because there's a bunch of different businesses going in there. This one is the one specifically right along Whitehall. And this one ended up passing. It was a 6-1 vote. Fire chief did make a comment about he would prefer more spacing in between the buildings. They've gone through the planning commission that had been discussed, and you recognize that the planning commission had the ability to make the decision. You know, we do not exclude the fire chief from the meetings. I do want to clarify that he can come to any of the meetings that he would like. Next, we had the condo on Hine Road, so it's the same thing, but it's the condo association specifically. So I included the resolution in the regular packet. I included the full condo thing in the reference packet if anyone wants to read that. And that passed as well. Next, we have the lake treatment special assessment resolutions. And so this is for Twin Lake, North Lake, Middle Lake, and West Lake. We've had decent fund balances there and have been working to get those down to kind of a reasonable level. Obviously, you can't bring them too low either. You want a little bit of a buffer there. And so we have a Twin Lake going for $50 for this year, and then North Lake, Middle Lake, and West Lake for $0 for the special assessments. That'll have to be reassessed next year on what those levels should be. I think Twin Lake will probably have to go up a little bit, and maybe one of the other lakes have to go up. Depends on how the treatments go over the year and how much is spent. Next, we have the land sale proposal on Russell Road. This is for setting the minimum bid. It's 2.53 acres. And next meeting will open bids. This minimum was set at $15,000. Next, we have the Pickers Patch liquor license resolution, and this is for a business working on expanding some of what they offer on M120, and that passed as well, so they can go to the state and attempt to get their license for that. Next, we have the township millage rates. Normal thing, we're doing the approved millage rates that the county has calculated with the heavily rollback, so the millage rates technically roll back a little bit on state laws around those, but nevertheless, that ended up passing, so we have to get that signed and sent on to the county. Next, we have our discussion items. The first one being the Westlake Vegetation Study Report. So I included that in this packet if anyone wants to look at it. And it said specifically on Westlake, because that's the contract that's up with PLM this year, that it is light on vegetation, essentially, is how it came out. Now, I've reached out to PLM to give them that report, and Solitude, the other company that had quoted doing it as a competitor to PLM, and Restorative Lake Sciences I reached out to and see if they do treatments, but they don't, because they try to be an objective third party for these types of studies that will oversee treatments of another company that we hired to do it if we wanted to hire two companies essentially to do that. So essentially more discussion there. The board was kind of uncertain or unsure of what to do with that information. We end up in the same spot. Do we want a short contract with PLM, a long contract with PLM, short contract with Solitude, a long contract with Solitude, contract with no one, and just do another study next year and kind of see how the lake is. So still options there. Next, we have the hall generator quote. So I got the full quote from Belasco and included that in there. They figured 2 generators separately for the town hall and the maintenance building. They each have a separate meter, about 23 grand each, plus you'll have some expenses on top of that. I have at least one more quote headed my direction from Fluid and Corthes, and they're going to look at doing 2 separate generators, but also just one larger generator that would go to both buildings. And then also I've reached out to Lasco and Windmiller to see if they would quote it as well. So we'll see if we can end up with another one by the next meeting too. Next, we have the financial pressures and a few different discussions here. One simple one, so I'll start with that. Having maybe an electronic sign where we could put some messages out in front of the township. Board essentially made sense to probably consider that for the next budget season. So that's where that is. Playground stuff at Beagle, we want to move on. So do some of the stuff this year, get it rolling and with the budget that we've got, and then also include things, budget things in for next year to keep expanding on that. So complete the project over the next 2 years, basically. On the shared road, so this was the big discussion on the proposal from Cedar Creek to do part of Dawson north of M120 gravel upgrade, decently large amount, $109,500 for Dalton's portion of it. And there were essentially 3 things. One, the board would like to hear more from the residents along there if we had a letter or someone came to a meeting and spoke, because we haven't had that specifically. Also, because there's more residents that are affected on the Cedar Creek side, the board thought that Cedar Creek should pay proportionally more, and then that we should be budgeting for it next year if we're going to do the project. So those 3 things I communicated last night. I sent an email. Try to follow up with some stuff that I get rolling that night. So I sent an email to the supervisor of Cedar Creek, Linda, and they're having their meeting tonight. And so we'll see what they get back with as well. Next, we have financial errors, and this concerned the audit, the current audit and the current finances, and the future audit as well. So a decent amount of discussion and talk and concerns over that. We had one public comment essentially emphasizing the concerns over getting those things sorted. And so as it lays now, we have Manor, one firm hired to help us get everything prepared for this audit and get this one completed, which will be late. It'll be after the audit deadline like last year. But then we want to set the township up for not doing that again next year. And so looking at hiring a CPA firm with like kind of a monthly oversight and reporting to the board and the public on the financial situation of the township and keeping up with things being done. So we'll be following up with that. Next, we have the clearing out of old items process. And this is, for items where you're not having much of a financial effect, it's like just move on the stuff. And so, somewhat different opinions because it's a judgment call on what the thing is. And so potentially if we have a bunch of stuff, we could have like an auction company quote it. If it's small stuff, just use it, get rid of it. Take it to the transfer station, people would pick it up, we throw it away, that type of thing. An employee take something, if it's cheap, you want a few things, no big deal, because we'd just be trashing it anyways. And if items get larger or if there's an issue with that, then we can do more of a process. Obviously, if we're selling like a tractor or a truck, something that's worth some money, then we do a bid process through the board. So depends on what level of expense or worth, I guess, the item is. But otherwise, keep moving forward with clearing some of the stuff out that's built up for decades. And then we had our second public comment, and Robin had mentioned the community center again. So I'm guessing that's going to be, worked on, talked about for a number of years. And then Rachel had mentioned some of the stuff they have happening at the Twin Lake Library. Always things happening there. So, and that adjourns our meeting. If anyone has any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out. My direct line to office is area code 231-332-6700 or email supervisor@daltontownship.org. Otherwise, this is Jeff Martin signing off. Until next time.